Okay, so this is a video intended to show you how to make a really fantastic analytical paragraph for English literature. A paragraph that makes use of maximum amount of gold, lots of language devices because that's AO2, but lots of gold because those are the best ideas about the text and the ones that we know are going to get you the best marks overall, and are going to show an examiner the depth and the detail of what you know about the text. We're also going to make sure that we're using AO1, so ideas about the text and quotations including micro quotes, and that we're using AO3, which is about the context of the time as specified in the question. So whether it's about knowledge or acceptance in society or whatever, are contextual ideas that we're talking about in relation to that theme. It might be about the writer's life, for instance, the influences on somebody like Mary Shelley, but it shouldn't be just bolted onto the end, irrelevant details about her life. It should be very much a part of the question. So, if I was using a quotation, one of my gold quotations, I've decided that this would be a great quotation to use. I'm going to take the one, "I dabbled among the unhallowed damps of the grave." Okay, and this is what this paragraph would look like. So I start with a really good, clear point about the text using the author's name. So I start with Shelley because she's not my mate, she's not my best friend. She is an author, so I always refer to her by surname. Shelley uses, and then I choose my device. So I dabbled among the unhallowed damps of the grave. I could talk about hellish imagery possibly. I could talk about Gothic imagery. So I'm going to take the idea of the Gothic imagery. So Shelley uses Gothic imagery to convey Victor's darkening obsession with science. And the lengths he will go to unlock the secrets of life. Okay, so now I want to embed my quotation, and I'm going to choose the quotation, "I dabbled among the unhallowed damps of the grave." So I might use a phrase such as, "Victor describes how he," and then embed my quotation, "dabbled among the unhallowed damps of the grave." Now, because I want to sound well informed about what I'm talking about, and I'm always talking about the writer's intentions, I'm going to use an interesting analytical verb there. So rather than saying suggests, I might say this emphasises, or I might say this highlights, or I might say this hyperbolizes, or I might say this evokes, but I'm going to say this emphasises that Victor is committing acts of heresy in his pursuit of knowledge. Furthermore, it connotes the sins and immorality. Immorality just means a sense of what is right and wrong. So immorality means committing acts that are wrong or immoral. Immorality of science. And then I'm going to go in and I'm going to talk about some specific elements. So for instance, the dynamic verb dabbled implies the frivolous nature of Victor's experiments. And his disregard for human life. The emotive adjective, unhallowed, because that relates to something that's unholy, hyperbolizes Victor's heresy, or I've already said the word heresy actually, so I want to make sure that I don't use that word again, but Victor's acts in sinning against God and assuming the role of deity. That means assuming the role of God, because only God should be allowed to create life. Okay, so now, because I've talked about nature and his disregard for nature, I can also relate to how Shelley would have felt about such knowledge. So, I'm going to use the phrase "this evokes" now to link to that big idea. So this evokes notions of the romantic sentiment. Because Shelley was a romantic, the romantics believed in the rejection of science, the importance of nature to a man's soul, and they believed in the power of science, power of nature over science. I believe that nature should be respected. So this evokes notions of a romantic sentiment as Victor's violation of nature, as in he's dabbling in areas where he's not wanted, as Victor's violation of nature represents transgression, which is just a partial word for sin, and will therefore lead to his downfall. As such, his disregard for nature foreshadows, another device, his damnation. Okay, now if I wanted to